Did you know that grizzly bears can run faster than horses? Contrary to the belief that bears are clumsy giants, they can reach speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour. That's faster than many horses. Grizzlies have not only powerful muscles, but also incredible agility, making them fearsome predators. Their speed allows them to hunt successfully and protect their territory. So, if you encounter a bear in the wild, don't think you can outrun it. Better to keep a safe distance and admire its power from afar. Did you know that in the US, there are banknotes with denominations up to $100,000? These bills were designed for internal transfers between large financial institutions and were never used in everyday transactions. Primarily, they were intended to facilitate operations between Federal Reserve banks. Such notes are rare, and although they are no longer issued, they remain an important part of the history of the American financial system and serve as an interesting example of unique solutions in banking practice. Did you know the world's oldest recipe is for beer? The oldest known beer recipe dates back to around 4,000 years before our era in ancient Sumeria. This ancient beer shows how long the tradition of brewing has been preserved. Sumerians brewed beer from barley, and this process was a key part of their culture for millennia. Who would have thought that the tradition of beer is so ancient and still thriving today? Hard to believe, but the largest iceberg was the size of Jamaica. The largest iceberg ever recorded broke off from the Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica in 1986. It was about 280 kilometers long and 80 kilometers wide, making its area comparable to the size of Jamaica. This gigantic iceberg was so massive it could easily have housed entire cities. It drifted in the ocean for several years, slowly melting. Who would have thought that you can see sounds through light? Sounds can not only be heard but also seen. Using special equipment like oscilloscopes, scientists can visualize sound waves, turning them into light pulses. These pulses take on different shapes depending on the frequency and intensity of the sound. The sight is incredible. High frequencies appear as fast, thin lines, while low ones as slow, broad patterns. Technology allows us to see music and sounds, adding a new dimension to how we perceive them. Did you know that in Indonesia there is a temple on a rock that connects nature and spirituality? Tanah Lot in Indonesia is an exotic rock surrounded by the ocean, topped by an ancient temple. This iconic site, located on the coast of Bali, has become a symbol of the island's culture and spirituality. Every year, thousands of tourists come here to witness the waves crashing against the rock, creating a unique natural spectacle. The temple built on this natural monument is an important religious and cultural site for the local community. Did you know the first alarm clock could only ring at one time? Imagine an alarm clock that only rings at 4 in the morning. That's exactly what the first alarm clock was like, invented by Levi Hutchins in 1787. This primitive, but at the time innovative device was designed solely for Hutchins' personal use. It didn't allow the user to choose a time, but it guaranteed an early rise. After all, 4 a.m. leaves no room for just 5 more minutes. Nonetheless, this invention was the forerunner of the modern alarm clocks we now wrestle with every morning. Did you know the African elephant is the largest land animal on Earth? African elephants are true giants. These majestic creatures can weigh up to 14,000 pounds, about 6,350 kilograms. That's like a small car on 4 legs. These gentle giants are a symbol of nature's greatness, and their size is awe-inspiring. Gorilla. 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 Funny name or serious science? Who would have thought that one of the largest and most majestic animals on the planet bears such a funny scientific name? The western lowland gorilla is classified as gorilla, gorilla, gorilla. In biology, binomial nomenclature is used to classify species, and the repetition of the name here emphasizes the uniqueness of this particular subspecies. While it may sound amusing, for scientists, it's standard practice. Such naming helps to precisely identify species, avoiding confusion with other subspecies. So next time you see a gorilla, you can jokingly refer to its official scientific name. Did you know that Robin Hood is a composite figure? The legendary character of English folklore is actually based on real people. This mythical hero, who fought against injustice and robbed the rich, embodied the spirit of popular rebellion. In reality, his character incorporated traits from several real-life criminals of medieval England who became heroes in the eyes of the poor. The legend of Robin Hood was preserved in folk songs and later adapted into literature, film, and theater, becoming a part of world culture. Did you know that ancient maps showed sea monsters? During the Age of Exploration, when sailors had no idea what lay beyond the horizon, maps often depicted enormous sea monsters. The cartographers who created them frequently drew giant squids, whales, and snake-like creatures in the seas and oceans, warning future travelers of what lay ahead. Some monsters on these maps were inspired by real encounters with unknown sea creatures, while others were pure fantasy. For sailors of that time, a map was not just a guide, but a warning about the dangers lurking beyond the known world. Is the 10,000 steps a day just a myth? We often hear that walking 10,000 steps a day is essential for good health. But did you know that this number isn't scientifically backed? The figure originated in the 1960s as part of a marketing campaign for a Japanese pedometer, whose name translates as 10,000 steps. It was simply a catchy slogan that stuck in the culture, but in reality, there is no specific scientific data that confirms that exactly 10,000 steps is the magic number. The number of steps needed to stay healthy can vary from person to person. Did you know that Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States? This city was chosen to host the Continental Congress, which played a crucial role in the country's independence. The city's name, derived from Greek, means brotherly love, symbolizing the spirit of unity and mutual support that inspired the early Americans in the formation of their new nation. Today, Philadelphia continues to hold significant historical importance in the context of the U.S. and remains a site for important cultural and political events. Did you know Bank of America was originally called the Bank of Italy? One of the largest banks in the United States, Bank of America, was originally founded in 1904 in San Francisco as the Bank of Italy. Its founder, Amedeo Giannini, created the bank to serve immigrants and the working class. Over time, the bank expanded and eventually became the financial giant known today as Bank of America. This journey from a small bank for Italian immigrants to an international financial powerhouse is truly a story of success. The most destructive computer virus in history. Computer viruses can cause enormous damage in a short time, but the MyDoom virus broke all records. Created in 2004, it became the fastest-spreading virus in history, causing about $38 billion in damage. It raced across the world at lightning speed, leaving financial chaos in its wake. A brutal reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in our connected technologies. What if I told you that space smells like burnt meat? It's strange, but astronauts who have returned from space report that the space environment has a distinct smell resembling burnt meat or metal after welding. This is due to complex chemical reactions occurring at the molecular level in the vacuum. While space itself doesn't carry smells, the scent becomes noticeable when astronauts return to their spacecraft. Who would have thought that hyperinflation could lead to the devaluation of currency? Hyperinflation can cause a complete devaluation of money, as seen in Germany in the 1920s and Zimbabwe in the late 1990s to early 2000s. In these countries, money became so worthless that people carried it in bags, and banknotes were used as wallpaper because they lost their purchasing power. Such crises highlight the importance of currency stability for a country's economy. Tardigrades, survival masters of extreme conditions. These microscopic creatures, also known as water bears, can survive in places where other organisms would perish. Tardigrades can endure freezing temperatures as low as -270 degrees Celsius, boiling heat, radiation, and even the vacuum of space. In extreme conditions, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, where their metabolism nearly stops, turning them into something like a time capsule. In this state, they can survive without water or food for decades. These fascinating creatures inspire scientists to explore new frontiers, and one day, they might even help humans conquer other planets. Imagine for a moment that the United States did not win the war with Mexico. The war began in 1846 and resulted in the U.S. significantly enlarging its territory, acquiring half of Mexico's lands, including California, Arizona, and Texas. Had the U.S. not emerged victorious, the consequences for its future development could have been drastically different. Without these territories, the economic and strategic influence of the U.S. in the Americas would have been considerably weakened, making industrial and commercial growth more difficult. Victory in the Mexican War paved the way for U.S. dominance in North America and further expansion of its influence. Can you imagine that the highest temperature in the USA was recorded in California's Death Valley at 56 degrees? It's one of the hottest and driest regions on the planet, where living conditions are extremely harsh. In contrast, the lowest temperature in the USA was recorded in Alaska at -62 degrees. These temperature extremes illustrate the incredible climate diversity in the country, from the scorching heat of deserts to the deadly cold of the northern latitudes. Believe it or not, the world's smallest island is only a few square meters. Bishop Rock, located in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of England, holds the title of the world's smallest island. Its area is only 8/1,000ths of a square kilometer, just 3/1,000ths of a square mile. Despite its tiny size, the island boasts a lighthouse and is the most westerly point of England. It's officially recognized in the Guinness World Records as the smallest inhabited island, proving that even the smallest piece of land can be home to something remarkable. Cucumber versus watermelon. Who wins the water battle? Believe it or not, cucumbers contain more water than watermelons. While we tend to think of watermelon as the most watery fruit, cucumbers actually contain 95% water, while watermelons have around 91 to 92%. This makes cucumbers slightly more watery than their red counterparts. So if you want to quench your thirst on a hot day, a cucumber might be even more effective than watermelon. It's amazing how such simple vegetables can hide surprising facts. An endless chocolate bar? Illusion or reality? The illusion of an endless chocolate bar is a geometric trick that creates the impression that a bar of chocolate can regenerate itself infinitely. It's an ingenious visual illusion that tricks our minds into believing in mathematical magic. Unfortunately, this trick doesn't work with real chocolate bars. But wouldn't it be a dream come true if it did? The first item ever sold on eBay was a broken laser pointer. In 1995, eBay founder Pierre Omidyar listed a broken laser pointer as a test for his new platform. Surprisingly, it was bought by a collector of broken laser pointers for $14.83. This unexpected success demonstrated the potential of online commerce, showing that even seemingly useless items could find a buyer. Who would have thought that a broken object would change the world of online sales forever? Did you know that Great Britain was not always an island? Great Britain is an island nation that comprises 4 countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. However, it wasn't always an island. About 88,000 years ago, before the Ice Age, the land that is now Great Britain was part of the continent. It was only after rising sea levels separated the land that Great Britain became an island. This process was a result of climate change and altered the entire geography of the region. Did you know that many championships in the U.S. are called World Championships, even though no other countries participate? For example, the World Championship of American Football is strictly an American event, featuring only U.S. teams. This approach often raises eyebrows outside the country, but within the U.S., it's seen as a tribute to the grandeur and uniqueness of local traditions. For Americans, the world is largely confined to their own country, and everything beyond its borders often seems less significant. How about this? In Italy, there is a village built on lava. In Italy, at the foot of Mount Etna, lies the village of Bronte, known for having some of its homes built directly on ancient lava flows. Volcanic eruptions often created layers of lava so solid that entire structures could be built on top. This unique feature has made Bronte famous worldwide. What's even more astonishing is that the locals are not afraid to live next to an active volcano, believing that the ancient lava protects their homes from new eruptions. Can it be true? Saudi Arabia imports camels from Australia? Yes, it's no mistake. Camels, once brought to Australia from the Middle East for farming and transportation, are now being exported back to Saudi Arabia. Camels have thrived in Australia's environment, and their population has grown significantly. Now, they are exported back to the Middle East, where they are used for similar purposes. Surprisingly, Australia is now a global leader in camel exports. Who would have thought that these desert animals would complete such a unique historical cycle? Amazingly, trees can communicate with each other. Scientists have discovered that trees communicate through root systems and fungal networks. This so-called wood wide web allows trees to share nutrients and warn each other about pests. They can send signals about water scarcity or threats so that nearby trees can prepare. This communication system makes forests much more complex and interconnected than we ever imagined. Is it true that your DNA contains about 3 billion base pairs? Inside each of your cells, your DNA forms a complex structure made up of roughly 3 billion base pairs. If stretched out, a single DNA molecule would be over 1 meter long. All these tiny components work together to determine your physical traits and even some aspects of your behavior. It's like a detailed instruction manual for building you, stored in every single cell. Did you know that ancient Egyptians created the first calendar? Ancient Egyptians were among the first to develop a calendar based on the cycles of the sun. They divided the year into 3 seasons, each consisting of 4 months. This calendar was created to accurately predict the flooding of the Nile, which was crucial for their agricultural activities. This calendar is still considered one of the greatest scientific achievements of the ancient world, helping people manage time and natural resources. Why is there a restaurant in Tokyo where real ninjas serve food? In Tokyo, there is a restaurant where waiters dress as ninjas, and it's wildly popular. The waiters perform tricks, vanish into thin air, and serve dishes with an air of mystery. The menu features exotic dishes, served with an element of surprise, and every meal is accompanied by a show. It's not just a restaurant, it's a full adventure for those who have always dreamed of seeing ninjas in action. Believe it or not, the world's oldest musical instrument was made from vulture bone. The world's oldest musical instrument is a flute made from vulture bone, and it's 35,000 years old. It was discovered in a cave in Germany and serves as ancient evidence of early musical craftsmanship. The flute has 5 finger holes, hinting at its musical potential. This artifact shows that ancient people used music for rituals, communication, and entertainment, adding melodies to their daily lives. Octopuses are the interior designers of the ocean you never knew about. Octopuses aren't just smart, they are also the artists of the underwater world. These fascinating creatures love collecting shiny shells, stones, and other treasures to decorate their underwater homes. They create underwater gardens around their dens, meticulously arranging everything. This shows not only their survival skills, but also their sense of artistry. Their homes are not just beautiful, but also designed to protect them from predators and attract the attention of other octopuses. Who would have thought that these sea creatures had such a talent for interior design? Here's what lies behind the phenomenon of British tea. Tea is not just a beverage, it is a whole culture. In the UK, it is an integral part of daily life, playing a significant role in social interactions and traditions. The history of British tea has its roots in colonial times when Britain actively expanded its empire in India. Tea became an important export, and its consumption became a symbol of English hospitality. Believe it or not, polar bears have black skin under their white fur. A polar bear's fur may look white, but underneath, its skin is actually black. This isn't just a natural curiosity, It's an important adaptation that helps polar bears absorb more heat from the sun and stay warm in the icy Arctic climate. It's like wearing a natural solar-powered suit that helps them survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Did you know that the U.S. seized Panama for the canal? In 1903, when Panama was still part of Colombia, the U.S. engaged in a real political maneuvering. On November 4th, an uprising broke out in Panama, and the U.S. Navy blocked Colombian forces from suppressing the revolt. Just 2 days later, on November 6th, the U.S. recognized Panama's independence. Soon after, a treaty was signed granting the U.S. control over the Panama Canal, as well as the right to station troops in Panama and construct the canal. In exchange, the U.S. paid $10 million and an annual rent of $250,000. The canal opened new trade routes, but most importantly, provided the U.S. with a strategic advantage, allowing for rapid military deployment between oceans. Did you know that squirrels can cause power outages? It turns out that cute, fluffy squirrels can cause significant damage to the power grid. In the United States, about 10 to 20% of all power outages happen because squirrels accidentally come into contact with wires and electrical equipment. These little mischief makers love climbing power lines, sometimes touching dangerous parts of the equipment. This leads to short circuits and outages that can affect entire cities. Who would have thought that such innocent-looking creatures could cause serious energy problems? Next time you see a squirrel on a tree, think about its potential as a saboteur. Why do lightning bolts often strike the same place? Lightning strikes tend to favor certain spots. For example, Lake Victoria in Africa is one of the most lightning-prone places in the world. Why does this happen? It's due to unique climate conditions that create almost continuous thunderstorms. Warm air rising from the lake's surface meets cooler air currents, triggering constant electrical discharges. Here's what's even more interesting. Lightning can strike the same place several times in a short period, and it's not a myth. Researchers found that high ground conductivity also plays a key role in attracting lightning to specific spots. Can you imagine the world's longest bridge stretches over 160 kilometers? The Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge in China holds the title of the world's longest bridge, stretching over 164 kilometers. This engineering marvel is part of the Beijing-Shanghai High-Speed Railway. Spanning lakes, fields, and valleys, the bridge not only astounds with its length, but also offers travelers breathtaking views as they speed across at up to 300 kilometers per hour. Why does Japan have an island inhabited only by rabbits? On Okunoshima, known as Rabbit Island, hundreds of fluffy bunnies roam freely, feeling like the rightful rulers of the place. Originally, rabbits were brought here for scientific experiments during World War II. After the war ended, they were released, and their population grew rapidly. Now, tourists from all over the world come to play and feed these friendly animals. Cats and dogs are prohibited on the island to protect the rabbit population, turning it into a true paradise for animal lovers. Can you believe that a tick can dine for up to 10 days? Ticks are true masters of long feasts. These tiny parasites can stay latched onto their host for up to 10 days, feeding without interruption. Imagine a dinner that lasts not just a few hours, but almost an entire week. The tick literally buries itself into the feast, slowly but surely enjoying its meal. While the host may not even realize that someone is indulging in their blood, the tick is having the time of its life. These little gourmets are so adapted to slow eating that they can store nutrients and feed on them for a long time. Though it sounds unpleasant to us, for ticks, it's a gourmet experience. If there were a competition for slow eating, ticks would surely be the champions. Why did ancient Romans wear togas? The toga was a symbol of Roman civic authority and status. Only free men could wear it, and putting it on incorrectly was considered shameful. But it wasn't just about fashion. The toga was highly impractical and required constant adjusting, signifying that its wearer was above manual labor. Plus, it was so hot and uncomfortable that Romans only wore it on special occasions. Who would have thought ancient fashion could be so complicated and impractical? What if I told you that a blink lasts only 3/10 of a second? Blinking is one of the fastest reactions of our body, and each one takes about 3/10 of a second. But despite its speed, blinking serves an important function. It moistens our eyes, protects them from dust, and even gives the brain a moment to rest. Throughout the day, we blink around 20,000 times without even noticing it. So, the next time you blink, remember, your body is working like a true biological machine, taking care of you every second. Did you know that William Shakespeare remains one of the most influential figures in literature? As an English playwright and poet, he is rightly regarded as one of the most significant authors in world literature. Despite the fact that no portrait of him was created during his lifetime, his works, such as Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, and Macbeth, continue to resonate and inspire people worldwide. Shakespeare not only expanded the boundaries of language by creating over 1,300 new words, but he also shaped the foundations of how human nature is understood in literature. His works have continued to influence literature and theater for centuries. Did you know ice can take more than one familiar form? We usually think of ice as frozen water, but did you know there are over 17 different types of ice? The most common type we encounter daily is known as ice. However, depending on pressure and temperature, water can form other crystalline structures, each with unique properties. For example, under high pressure, water can turn into hexagonal or even cubic ice. These forms of ice occur in nature under rare conditions, such as deep ocean trenches or on icy moons. This shows how incredibly versatile and complex water molecules are, adapting to various environments. Can you imagine a shoe the size of a car? In 2015, an Indian shoemaking company crafted the world's largest shoe, measuring a whopping 6.4 meters in length and almost 3 meters in height. This colossal shoe is the equivalent of a US size 2090 and was made from leather, rubber, and foam. It's hard to imagine anyone wearing it, but it's certainly a record-breaking feat of craftsmanship. The surprising trend in Japan: pets preferred over children. Imagine this. In Japan, there are now more pets than children. This surprising fact highlights modern social trends. More and more Japanese people are choosing to have pets instead of children. Statistics show that the number of pets in Japan exceeds the number of children under the age of 15. This is due to many factors, such as the high costs of raising children, career ambitions, and limited housing space. Pets require less time and resources, but still bring joy and a sense of care. This trend reflects global changes in the perception of family life and values in different countries around the world. How many toes do you think cats have on their front paws? Cats' paws are truly unique, not just because they're cute. Most cats have 5 toes on their front paws and only 4 on their back paws. This makes their movement system particularly efficient for hunting and climbing. However, some polydactyl cats have extra toes, making them even more unique. It seems nature decided that a cat's paw shouldn't just be a survival tool, but also a perfect machine for capturing human hearts. What was the real reason behind the emergence of the first coins? The first coins appeared around the 7th century BC and were primarily made of silver and gold. The value of a coin was directly related to the value of the metal it was made from, which determined its purchasing power. The introduction of coins was a significant step in the development of the economy, as they simplified exchange processes and allowed for the formation of more complex systems of trade and wealth accumulation. Olympus Mons is the largest volcano in the solar system. Olympus Mons, located on Mars, is the largest volcano in the solar system. It stands at a height of 21 kilometers with a base diameter of 600 kilometers. This colossal mountain is so huge that if you stacked 3 Mount Everests on top of each other, they still wouldn't reach its summit. Olympus Mons is a true mountain of fire and one of Mars's greatest mysteries. Astronauts don't float in zero gravity like we think. Many people believe that astronauts experience total weightlessness in space, but that's a common misconception. In reality, they are constantly falling toward Earth, but at such a high speed that they never crash into it. This continuous fall gives them the feeling of being weightless, a fantastic example of how the laws of physics turn space into a magical realm of floating. How far can a lion's roar be heard? The secret of the King of Beasts. The lion rightly bears the title of King of Beasts, and its roar is one of the most powerful sounds in the animal kingdom. A lion's roar can be heard up to 5 miles, 8 kilometers away, and it's almost as loud as thunder. This roar not only shows the lion's strength, but also helps it hold its territory, scare off rivals, and communicate with other pride members. If you heard such a roar in the wild, you'd definitely know who's the boss. Is it possible that giraffes only sleep 30 minutes a day? These incredible animals can survive on minimal sleep. Giraffes sleep for only about 30 minutes a day, and they even do it standing up. They have a special mechanism that allows them to rest in short intervals of a few minutes to avoid predators. With such long legs, they can quickly spot approaching danger. You probably didn't know that the International Space Station is the most expensive object ever built. The cost of building and operating the ISS is approximately $150 billion. For comparison, that's almost 50 times the cost of the Eiffel Tower. All this money was spent to create a one-of-a-kind scientific laboratory complex orbiting the Earth. Can you believe that 3% of Antarctica's ice is penguin urine? It may sound strange, but it's true. Scientists have determined that about 3% of Antarctic ice is made up of penguin urine. In the extreme cold of Antarctica, urine doesn't evaporate as it would in warmer climates. Instead, it remains on the surface and eventually freezes, becoming part of the ice. This unusual fact shows just how unique this continent is and how its natural conditions create truly unexpected phenomena. How does a giant rubber duck travel around the world gathering crowds of spectators? A massive inflatable duck, created by Dutch artist Florentijn Hofman, has become an international sensation. Standing over 15 meters tall, it has already floated through rivers and lakes in cities like London, Tokyo, and Sydney, sparking joy among children and adults alike. The duck symbolizes childhood and joy, and everywhere it goes, it's greeted like a celebrity. Some fans even follow it around the world just to see it in a new location. Owls don't just see, they mesmerize. Owls don't have typical eyeballs. Instead, they have specialized tubular eyes. This unique adaptation allows them to keep their eyes fixed, giving them exceptional binocular vision and the ability to rotate their heads almost 270 degrees. Thanks to this, owls become masters of nighttime hunting, detecting even the slightest movements in complete darkness. Their eyes are more than just organs of sight. They are powerful tools that make them incredible hunters, and every time they turn their heads, it's like witnessing nature's magic in action. Hard to believe, but Iceland has an official elf translator. Icelanders believe in elves so much that they even invite a special translator to communicate with them. Road and building contractors are required to consult with this translator to avoid disturbing elf dwellings. It's believed that elves live in rocks and hills, so if construction is needed, they check first to see if it's an elf home. This way, Iceland builds with possible neighbors in mind. The flight of the chicken. Why don't chickens fly like eagles? Imagine this. The longest flight a chicken has ever made lasted only 13 seconds. Although chickens have wings, they aren't designed for long flights. Unlike eagles and other birds, chickens can only take short hops and fly a few meters by flapping their wings. This feature is due to their anatomy. Their bodies are too heavy, and their wing muscles are not developed enough for sustained flight. However, in rare cases, chickens can cover significant distances, but this is the exception rather than the rule. So next time you see a chicken, remember, it may be a bird, but it's far from being an aerial creature. Did you know that France sent a cat into space? In 1963, France launched Félicité, also known as AstroCat, into space. Electrodes were carefully implanted in her brain, allowing scientists to receive neurological signals during her voyage among the stars. Felicette bravely journeyed into space and miraculously survived the mission, becoming the first cat in history to venture beyond Earth. She not only etched her name into the annals of space exploration, but also showed that animals have been important pioneers in human cosmic endeavors. Do you suffer from kenophobia, fear of empty spaces? Kenophobia is a rare and unusual fear of empty spaces. People who have this fear feel uncomfortable in overly open places where there is no furniture or objects, creating a sense of fullness. Imagine playing hide-and-seek with someone who has kenophobia. The thought of finding a place to hide in a large, empty room could become a real nightmare. This phobia highlights just how different our perceptions of the world around us can be. Did you know the hummingbird is the smallest bird in the world? The hummingbird, found in Cuba and nearby islands, is the world's smallest bird. The smallest species of hummingbird measures only 5 centimeters in length and weighs around 2 grams. But don't let its size fool you. This tiny bird is a real powerhouse. It can beat its wings up to 200 times per second, making it one of the fastest creatures in nature. This incredible little wonder can hover in place, feeding on flower nectar. Amazingly, oysters can change their gender. Oysters possess an incredible ability to change gender based on their needs. Throughout their lives, they may become male or female multiple times, helping them adapt to their environment and reproduce more effectively. This flexibility is crucial in habitats with varying population dynamics, where these changes can greatly influence survival. Believe it or not, the world's smallest snake is less than 10 centimeters long. The Barbados thread snake is a true marvel of nature. This snake holds the title of the world's smallest, living on the beautiful Caribbean island of Barbados. It grows to just under 10 centimeters in length and weighs about 0.6 of a gram, which is around 0.02 of an ounce. This tiny snake feeds on termites and ant larvae, and its eggs are sometimes larger than the snake itself. With its blunt head and toothless mouth, this miniature serpent shows just how diverse and fascinating the animal kingdom is. Did you know that the first frozen dinner was created in 1953? Imagine this. The frozen dinners we're so used to were once a culinary breakthrough. In 1953, Swanson introduced a frozen meal styled after a Thanksgiving dinner. This meal was in response to the need for quick meal preparation, and since then, frozen foods have become a staple of our diets. Today, the variety of frozen meals is staggering, from pizzas to exotic delicacies. Just think how a simple solution for leftover food turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry that has transformed our eating habits. Why do wolves run on their toes? Wolves have a unique way of moving. They run on their toes. This special technique helps them make quick stops, sharp turns, and protect the pads of their feet from wear and tear. Running on their toes keeps wolves agile and ready to react to anything in their environment, like having built-in brakes and durable shoes all in one. This skill makes wolves some of the most efficient hunters in the wild, allowing them to navigate dense forests and open terrain with ease. How would you react to the fact that Winston Churchill was born in a women's restroom? What if you found out that one of Britain's greatest politicians was born in such an unusual place? This fact about Churchill has become almost mythical, and while it may not be true, such astonishing and vivid moments have become part of his legend. Churchill, who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom twice, played a crucial role in the Allies' victory in World War II. His speeches, resolve, and ability to make important decisions during the most challenging times of the war are key features of his political legacy. Why is the sky blue? The answer lies in science. Have you ever wondered why the sky appears so bright blue? This phenomenon is explained by the scattering of sunlight in the atmosphere. As sunlight passes through the Earth's atmosphere, it collides with gas molecules and scatters in all directions. Blue light has shorter wavelengths, so it scatters more than other colors. This is what makes the sky appear blue to us. It's one of those natural wonders that surround us every day, but are often taken for granted. Did you know you might have been answering the phone with "Ahoy"? In the early days of the telephone, when Alexander Graham Bell introduced his invention, he suggested using "ahoy" as a greeting when answering calls. Inspired by nautical language, Bell thought it would be a perfect fit for the new way of communicating. Imagine if his idea caught on. We would all be saying "ahoy" every time we picked up the phone. However, Thomas Edison suggested the word "hello," and it became the standard, leaving "ahoy" as a quirky piece of history. Who would have thought that polar bears have black skin? Yes, beneath their snowy white fur, polar bears actually have black skin. This may seem surprising, but nature designed these animals to have the best possible insulation for surviving in freezing environments. Their black skin helps them absorb more sunlight, while their hollow, transparent fur traps the sun's rays, creating a thermos effect. This incredible adaptation allows polar bears to stay warm in the extreme Arctic cold. Although their fur appears white, it merely reflects the surrounding light, making them almost invisible against the snow and ice. Penicillin was discovered by accident, and it saved millions of lives. In 1928, Alexander Fleming returned from vacation to his laboratory and noticed that one of his petri dishes, infected with bacteria, was covered in mold. He was amazed to find that bacteria were not growing around the mold. This was the beginning of the discovery of penicillin, the world's first antibiotic, which completely transformed medicine and saved countless lives. A chance discovery became one of the greatest breakthroughs in human history. How would you react if you learned that the national motto of the USA is "God helps"? This might be surprising, especially in a country where there is no official state religion and freedom of worship is encouraged. The USA is a nation where everyone can choose their own faith, and the government does not interfere in these personal matters. Interestingly, the dollar is not just a currency, but a true icon of the global economy. Its printing is handled by only 12 banks, and the paper for the banknotes is produced by a single company, highlighting the significance of this currency on the world stage. Did you know that control over technology is a key lever of power for the United States? For decades, the U.S. has remained a global leader in technology, not necessarily by inventing everything themselves, but by controlling the dissemination and use of innovations. Every year, between 350 and 1,000 new patents are registered worldwide, and half of them are American. In contrast, Russia consistently registers a number of patents on par with Brazil or Liechtenstein. In 2021, the U.S. registered 178,000 patents, while Russia registered only 220. This control over technology has become crucial for the future economic leadership of the U.S., as new technologies significantly enhance productivity, and the U.S. continues to be the main center for such developments. How about this? There are roadmaps for astronauts on the moon. During the Apollo missions, special markings were made on the moon's surface to help astronauts navigate. These markers included lines and even arrows pointing in specific directions. In an environment where horizontal landmarks are not obvious and visibility is limited, these markers were crucial. Although the moon seems empty, these hidden details help future missions avoid getting lost and allow better exploration of Earth's satellite. Did you know that in France there's a house with a negative number? In the town of Rocamadour, France, you can find a house numbered -1. This building was constructed under a cliff, below street level. When the other houses were numbered, the ground-level houses were already given 0 and 1. This unusual designation has now become a local landmark and a curiosity for tourists. After all, it's not every day you see a house with a negative number. What's the longest time between the birth of twins? The longest recorded gap between the birth of twins is 87 days. This astonishing record was set when one twin was born prematurely and the other stayed in the womb for almost 3 more months. Imagine that. One twin born at the end of 1 year and the other in the following year. This unusual story adds a remarkable milestone to the family's life, creating a unique timeline between the births of these twins. How about this? In Sweden, there's a competition for the worst-smelling socks. This may sound absurd, but Sweden holds an annual competition called the Stinky Sock Contest, where participants compete for the title of owning the smelliest socks. The competition attracts many brave souls willing to wear their socks for months without washing in hopes of winning. The socks are judged based on intensity and aroma, and the winner gets not only the title but also unique prizes, such as a year's supply of new socks. It sounds weird, but this contest really exists. Did you know the world's most isolated tree was located in the middle of the Sahara? In the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert, there once stood a legendary tree known as the Tree of Tenere. This solitary acacia was the only tree for miles around and served as an essential landmark for travelers. The tree was about 300 years old and survived the harsh desert conditions by tapping into underground water. Sadly, its story came to a tragic end in 1973 when it was accidentally knocked down by a truck. Today, the Tree of Tenere is preserved in a museum, a symbol of nature's resilience and the dangers of the desert. Why zebra foals start running right after birth? Zebra foals can run just 1 hour after being born. This amazing ability helps them survive in the wild, where predators are always on the lookout. Baby zebras are born with strong legs that allow them to stand up quickly and keep up with their herd. Thanks to this skill, they can avoid danger from the very start of their lives. Imagine being able to run within an hour of being born. These striped cuties are ready to show off their impressive speed and agility right from the start. Ban on cars on Mackinac Island. How horses defeated cars. Imagine an island where cars have been banned since the late 19th century. Mackinac Island in Michigan became a place where, in 1898, automobiles were completely banned because they frightened horses, the primary mode of transport at the time. Amazingly, this ban remains in effect to this day. Now, you can only get around the island by horse, bicycle, or on foot, and even deliveries are made with horse-drawn carts. Mackinac Island is a unique place where you can enjoy quiet streets without the noise of cars. Why is the American economy so strong? What is the American economy? It comprises half of the world's most valuable companies, with 8 out of the top 10 being American. But what makes this economy so powerful? It's due to its ability to adapt and invest in new sectors. Historically, the U.S. has been very successful in choosing development strategies and has leveraged the economic opportunities from the wars of the 20th century for its growth. Moreover, the U.S. is not only strong domestically, but also controls a significant portion of global trade and production. Can you imagine? Your blood vessels could wrap around the Earth twice. Have you ever wondered how complex the human circulatory system is? If you laid out all the blood vessels in your body end to end, they would stretch about 96,000 kilometers, enough to wrap around the Earth twice. This intricate network of arteries, veins, and capillaries is vital for transporting blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. This amazing feat of nature highlights just how complex and beautifully designed our bodies are. Now that you know this fact, you can marvel even more at how your body works. Did you know that beneath Amsterdam is a complex sewer system? In addition to the famous canals that cross Amsterdam, there is also an extensive network of underground canals built as early as the 16th century. This intricate sewer system not only keeps the city's canals clean, but also prevents flooding. Staying true to tradition, Amsterdam conducts annual inspections to keep these old canals in working condition and to keep the city afloat. Every cat has a unique nose print. Just like humans have unique fingerprints, cats have their own special patterns on their noses. Each cat's nose has a distinct print that can be used to identify them, much like how fingerprints work for people. This trait makes every cat's nose completely unique and adds a bit of personality to their charm. So if you have a furry purring friend at home, know that their nose is as unique as their character. This amazing fact highlights how diverse and mysterious the feline world is, where even the smallest details matter. Did you know that the Phi Phi Islands survived a devastating tsunami but retained their beauty? Despite the horrific destruction caused by the tsunami in 2004, the Phi Phi Islands in Thailand have maintained their unique and surreal charm. These islands became world famous after the filming of The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, where the stunning cliffs and tropical beaches attract thousands of tourists each year. Even now, despite all the challenges, Phi Phi remains a symbol of natural beauty and is an ideal destination for relaxation, diving, and excursions. The United States is the birthplace of skyscrapers. The first skyscraper was built in Chicago in 1885 and held the record until 1931. The tallest building in the U.S., Freedom Tower in New York, which stands on the site of the destroyed Twin Towers, is currently the seventh tallest building in the world. These architectural marvels symbolize not only strength and technology, but also the resilience of the nation following the 9/11 tragedy. Skyscrapers in the U.S. embody the country's ambitions and its capability to construct unique, magnificent structures that continue to astonish the world. It turns out the world's smallest reptile is the size of a fingertip. The world's smallest reptile is the leaf chameleon, native to Madagascar. This tiny creature measures only 29 millimeters from nose to tail, smaller than a fingertip. Despite its minuscule size, male leaf chameleons boast bright green and orange patterns, while the females have elegant shades of brown and beige. Discovered in 2012, this remarkable species continues to amaze scientists with its tiny yet colorful existence. Who would have thought that there are no clocks in Las Vegas casinos? This is not a coincidence, but a clever marketing tactic. Staff are prohibited from wearing watches, and players are not allowed to ask for the time. All of this is designed to make visitors lose track of time and spend as many hours as possible gambling and enjoying the excitement. It's another example of how the city and its entertainment industry leverage psychology to boost profits. Sperm whales, the loudest creatures on Earth. Sperm whales are underwater sound machines. They produce clicks and vocalizations that can reach up to 230 decibels. That's several times louder than a jet engine. These sounds help sperm whales communicate over vast distances and navigate the ocean depths. They use them like sonar to hunt giant squid at depths of over 1,000 meters. These clicks are so powerful that they can even stun their prey from a distance. Imagine if humans had similar abilities. We could communicate across entire oceans. Why hasn't Ireland's population recovered 160 years after the famine? Imagine a country unable to fully recover its population for more than a century and a half. That's precisely what happened to Ireland after the Great Potato Famine of the mid-19th century. The famine, caused by crop failures, led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands and the mass emigration of millions of Irish people around the world. Even today, 160 years later, Ireland's population is still 2 million less than it was before this tragedy. This incredible demographic puzzle remains a testament to the devastating impact of those events. Amazing but true. Donkeys have more personality than horses. Donkeys are often seen as stubborn, but they're actually very intelligent and emotional. They can remember their friends, both humans and other animals, for over 20 years. Donkeys form deep bonds and can sense changes in their owners' moods. They love attention, can get jealous, and even become sad if ignored. These emotions make donkeys incredibly unique and affectionate animals that deserve much more appreciation. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Brits talk about the weather more than anything else. According to a study, 94% of Brits have talked about the weather at least once in the last 6 hours, and 38% reported discussing it in the last hour. This is due to the frequently changing weather in the UK, where rainy conditions are the norm. On average, there are 130 rainy days a year in Britain, prompting locals to always discuss what's happening outside. So don't be surprised if, upon meeting a Brit, the first question is about the weather. What if I told you the largest family in the world has more than 180 members? In India, the world's largest family, led by Ziona Chana, consists of 39 wives, 94 children, 14 daughters-in-law, and 33 grandchildren. They all live together in a 4-story house with 100 rooms and a shared kitchen. This family belongs to a Christian sect that allows polygamy, and despite their large size, they live harmoniously under one roof. This incredible family is truly a dynasty that amazes and inspires people around the world. Did you know the Nile is the longest river in the world? The Nile River, which stretches approximately 6,650 kilometers, passes through 11 countries in northeastern Africa. These countries, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda, depend on the Nile for their economies, cultures, and ecosystems. The Nile is not only a lifeline for millions of people, but also a witness to ancient history spanning millennia. Megirocophobia. Fear of cooking is real. Megirocophobia goes far beyond just not wanting to cook. It's a deep-rooted fear that can grip someone at the mere thought of turning on the stove. Imagine standing in a kitchen surrounded by pots and pans and feeling a wave of terror like you're in a haunted house. It's not about being bad at cooking. It's the fear that keeps people away. Not all scary things hide in closets. Some are lurking in your cookbook. Did you know that earthquakes also happen on the moon? Yes, indeed. The moon experiences its own kind of tremors, known as moonquakes. These shakes can be caused by Earth's gravitational pull, meteor impacts, or tidal forces, and they can last for up to an hour. Surprisingly, moonquakes can reach magnitudes of up to 5.5 on the Richter scale. Just imagine. The moon, our constant celestial companion, reacts to Earth's gravitational pull as if dancing in space alongside our planet. This shows that the moon is more alive and dynamic than we might think. The lonely giant, the saddest whale on the planet. Imagine a whale that sings at a frequency no one else can hear. This unique whale, dubbed the 52 Hertz whale, is known for singing at 52 Hertz. Much higher than other whales. Because of this, it cannot communicate with other whales, and it is considered the loneliest whale in the world. Scientists and the public have followed this whale since the 1980s, and its solitary songs remain a mystery. Perhaps its story is more than just an anomaly. It could be a symbol of our own isolation in the modern world. The Royal Game of Ur is the oldest board game, over 4,000 years old. This ancient game was discovered during excavations in Mesopotamia and dates back to around 2600 BCE. Played by 2 players on a 20-square board, the game involved strategic moves with pieces that maneuvered around obstacles. It had a major influence on the development of future board games, demonstrating the strategic thinking of ancient civilizations. Just imagine how deep-rooted our love for games really is. Did you know that Alfred Hitchcock was terrified of eggs? Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, terrified millions with his cinematic genius. But he had a peculiar fear himself. He was scared of eggs. Hitchcock admitted that just seeing a cracked egg filled him with dread. For a man who created films that left audiences on the edge of their seats, this phobia seems completely paradoxical. How could someone who made us fear shower curtains and shadows be afraid of something as ordinary as an egg? It's one of the more surprising secrets of the great master of horror. Why does fish rain actually happen? In the city of Yoro, Honduras, an unusual phenomenon occurs every year: rain of fish. This strange natural event happens during the heavy summer storms when hundreds of live fish fall to the ground along with the rain. Locals call it lluvia de peces and believe it to be a divine blessing. However, scientists suggest that strong waterspouts form in the atmosphere, lifting fish from nearby bodies of water and depositing them kilometers away. It's one of those phenomena that remind us how surprising and unpredictable nature can be. How would you react if you knew that in Japan, buildings are made of paper? In Japan, they are developing innovative buildings made from recycled paper. This material is used for temporary structures such as pavilions or exhibition centers. The paper walls are treated with special substances that make them resistant to rain and fire. This is an example of how modern technologies allow for the construction of eco-friendly buildings that are easy to dismantle and recycle, leaving no harm to the environment. Who would have thought that the world's most pierced man has over 500 piercings? British IT specialist Rolf Boltz holds the title of the most pierced man in the world, with a staggering 516 piercings. His body is adorned with horn implants, stretched earlobes, and tattoos. Known as the man with horns, Rolf enjoys the attention his unique appearance brings. Despite his unusual looks, Rolf says that his piercings are a form of self-expression, and he loves the reaction they provoke. Can you imagine which vegetable is the oldest in the world? Peas hold the title of being the oldest known vegetable, with evidence of cultivation dating back to 9750 BCE. This small green legume has been an essential part of human diets for thousands of years, grown by ancient civilizations and valued in many cultures across the world. Peas aren't just a simple vegetable. They represent the enduring legacy of certain foods throughout human history. Who would have thought that the humble pea has accompanied humanity for so long? Who would have thought that the wombat is a true architect of nature? Imagine this. The small, furry wombat living in Australian forests is not just cute, but unique in a very peculiar way. It's the only animal on the planet that leaves cube-shaped droppings. Yes, you heard that right. Perfect little cubes. These unusual blocks don't just roll down hills. Wombats strategically place them to mark their territory. The cubic shape helps prevent them from rolling, which is especially useful in hilly areas. Scientists have long wondered how wombats manage to produce such regular shapes. The secret lies in the unique structure of their intestines, which compress the waste into perfect cubes. Nature never ceases to amaze, and wombats with their cube droppings are a shining example of how fascinating her creations can be. Can you imagine that the world's oldest color is pink? In 2018, scientists discovered the oldest known color on Earth, and it's pink. Extracted from billion-year-old rocks in the Sahara Desert, this pink pigment was created by ancient ocean-dwelling bacteria. These bacteria lived long before animals existed, making pink the oldest biological color. The discovery adds a colorful twist to our understanding of life's early history. Caffeine. Energy or illusion? Caffeine is the most popular psychoactive substance in the world, but it doesn't actually give you energy. Instead, it blocks adenosine receptors in the brain, preventing them from signaling tiredness. It's a kind of trick that makes your brain feel alert and awake. What's even more fascinating is that caffeine's molecular structure is very similar to that of adenosine, allowing it to take the place of this neurotransmitter. This clever process helps us wake up in the morning and stay alert throughout the day. Now imagine, it's all just a game of chemistry. Antarctica is the largest desert on Earth. Antarctica, despite all its ice and snow, is actually the largest desert in the world. Yes, you heard that right. The criteria that define a desert are low levels of precipitation, and in Antarctica, very little moisture falls. The average annual precipitation in some parts of the continent is similar to that of the Sahara. This makes Antarctica a true ice desert, where endless ice fields stretch instead of scorching sands. This fact highlights that deserts come in many forms, both hot and cold, and nature always has a surprise in store. Is it possible? In the USA, there is a river that flows underground for 1,000 kilometers. In the United States, under the Appalachians, lies a vast underground river system known as the Ogallala Aquifer. This subterranean river stretches for 1,000 kilometers, and its waters supply millions of people in the Midwest. Although it cannot be seen, it serves as an important source of drinking water for a huge area. Scientists warn that due to climate change and excessive water use, this unique river could dry up in the coming decades, making it even more mysterious and crucial for preservation. Why do you think giraffes have black tongues? Giraffes have tongues nearly half a meter long, and they're not just black, they're blue-black. This unique color isn't random, it protects them from the sun. Giraffes spend hours each day stripping leaves from tall trees under the hot sun. The dark color acts like a natural sunscreen, preventing sunburn. This amazing adaptation lets giraffes spend all the time they need in the sun without worry. Nature thought of everything. The United States is the only developed country that does not provide free health care to its citizens. This situation sparks considerable debate in society, especially given the high costs of medical care. In 2019, 28 million Americans were uninsured, placing the country at the forefront of healthcare access issues. Statistics also show that nearly 45,000 people die each year due to lack of insurance. This problem remains a major issue on the political agenda in the U.S., as thousands face denial of medical assistance every year, posing a significant challenge for the nation.